Ah, I've got some coffee. It's a Sunday morning. Great time to fight off some boredom. Let's go ahead and pull out the Raspberry Pi and the Freenove kit, and let's go through, I don't know, let's play with the LCD screen today, and we'll work on some Python from the examples from the actual kit, and we'll actually extend that out. Go get some data from some APIs maybe, and print them out on the screen. So let's get to it, and then I'll show you how to get this hooked up. The screen's really easy to get all hooked up. Alright, we've got our breadboard, our Raspberry Pi, and our GPIO extension board. Get that all prepped. We're going to pull out the 1602A LCD screen, and this has a 4-pin, if you can see it, focus, setup that you can get to hook this up. I also have a nice screen holder that plugs right in to the O and holds the screen. So let's get to this. First, I'm going to just go ahead and pop the screen into the holder. And then, as I said before, we're going to need 4 cables. You can see these are a male end right here, and we need a male end here. So the cable needs a male and a female end, and we're going to need 4 of them. There's 2 yellow and orange. We can use those as the data cables. There's a good power cable, and we need a ground cable, and that one will work. So in my example, you can use whatever colors you want. I'm going to use brown. We're going to hook that up to the ground, top pin right there. And then we're going to take the red and hook it up right to the VCC, which is the power. And then we'll grab that yellow and orange here, and we'll put yellow to SDA and orange to SCL. Alright, take those cables, go ahead and stick my stand in there. And then yellow to SDA, orange to SCL. So we'll go over there. And just so you can see, right there is the SDA and the SCL. Try to keep this on camera, but it's hard. And we'll plug those in. And then also, there's a ground, and we're going to need 5-volt power. And we'll grab the ground from right there. And power from over here. So get the cables out of the way and hold them back. And we'll go ahead and plug in the Raspberry Pi and get some power going to it. We can see the screen turns on, and we'll hop over to our coding computer and we'll SSH in and take a look at what we can do here. Alright, now you can see that we've got VS Code open, and we're connected down here via SSH to the dev Pi, and we're sitting here with the terminal window open. Let's go ahead and open up a folder, and we're going to jump over to the Freenove kit. This is code that comes with the kit that you can play with as you're walking through all the different lessons. We're going to jump over and do some specific ones, and go extend it and play a little bit more. So let's go take a look. We're going to go into code, into Python code, and the specific one that I want to take a look at is the LCD one here. Alright, now if we take a look through this Python script, it's basically pulling from the Adafruit and the PCF one to be able to run the LCD. And then if we go in here and look, it's basically getting the CPU temperature and the system time. It's turning on the LCD backlight, set the number of LCD lines and columns, and then it's kind of printing out those messages. Let's take a look and see what this actually looks like when we run it. So let's flip over to the folder that has the default code, and we're going to run it. Alright. We can see that the program is starting up, and the LCD screen is showing us the temperature of the Raspberry Pi and the current time. And you can see it's running in a loop and just changing up. So, that's pretty darn cool, but I figured that we can actually extend this out really easily and show you guys how to integrate working with some APIs and pulling data from different APIs and show it on the screen just for the heck of it. Alright, let's go ahead and stop that program, and we'll move on from there. Since we're into DevOps, let's just go ahead and start with AWS and say, let's go pull the count of items that are in a certain S3 bucket. You're going to need some prerequisites for this. For one thing, you're going to need to install Bodo 3 and get the AWS CLI all set up so that it has credentials. From there, though, we're going to go in here and basically say import Bodo 3 so that we can call it. And then let's define S3. S3 equals Bodo 3.resource S3. Let's go ahead and get the bucket. So bucket equals S3 dot bucket. And for me, we'll pull the ops monkeys CDN bucket. Basically fronts the opsmonkeys.com website, and we'll just get that. So from there, let's go and add on account. So we'll do a count equals 0, and then we'll pull a for loop in here to get the number of objects that are in that bucket. So for I in bucket dot objects dot all count object equals count object plus 1, and then we'll define the answer from that as object count. Object count equals S3 count underscore object That should do it. Let me look at it, and let me just straight out say I barely know Python. I'm just playing around. I barely know the use of Raspberry Pis and GPIO control. I'm also just playing around there. So, guys, don't be too harsh on me. So I think now that we have that all completely defined out, we could actually go add it to the loop down here. So let's take a look here. We want to turn on the LCD, set the numbers, we'll leave that. LCD clear, we could clear it first, but we'll just leave it alone, just the way it is. We'll do those. We'll let those still display for now. And let's just put another sleep in there, right? Sleep. And we'll give it a sleep of, say, 5 seconds, so it shows that message for 5 seconds before it moves on. And let's go ahead and add another message in here, lcd.message. And we'll add that S3 bucket object count. Object count. And we'll save that. And then let's go ahead and take a look at what that does for us now. And see if my code is even any good. No, it is not good. So let's take back a look and see what we did here. Count object is not defined. Alright, so that's because we messed up right here. Try that again. Alright, you can see that the program is starting, showing us the CPU temperature, the date, and it looks like it may have messed up. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. So, in between here, what we actually want to do right after this sleep, let's add an LCD clear so it clears the screen before showing the next one. Go ahead and stop this and try it again. Let's see how it goes this time. Alright, we got the temperature, we've got the date. Let's wait 5 seconds. And it showed it to us, but it showed it to us so fast we couldn't see it, and that's because it's got a sleep 1 in there, so let's just go ahead and change that. Give 5 seconds, restart the script. Hey, look, S3, and there's 1,331 objects in that bucket. So that actually did work. So real fast, we just pulled the count of the number of objects that are in that specific OpsMonkey CDN bucket with Python, and we're printing it out on the screen here. Let's go ahead and stop that, see what else we can do. What other APIs do we want to work with? Well, I'll tell you what, since this is YouTube, let's go use YouTube's API and pull some information like subscriber and view count. That way we can work in, say, environment variables and requests. So, to start off with that, let's start with what we know we're going to need. Import OS. Import, we're going to need request to work with the YouTube API. go ahead and add logging. Might need it. And from here, we'll need to set a YouTube API key. If you need to get instructions on how to do that, you can find those online all over the place. But let's define it, and we'll set it locally on the Raspberry Pi so it knows how to use it. Define DEF, and we'll call it load YouTube underscore API. Env equals os dot environment dot get, and we'll call it YouTube API. We'll put in a statement just in case it's not there. If env return env return API key. Alright, that looks good. And what you'll need to do is export your YouTube API key. Export YouTube API equals, and this is where you put your key. I'll put mine in. And just so you guys know, it's all stars, it's all blanked out, you don't see anything. So now that we have that exported, we'll clear everything out. And I guess we should probably start building what we need to talk to the YouTube API. So first thing that we'll need to have is the URL. URL equals https www.googleapis.com /YouTube /v3. And I would have to go in channels. From there, we're going to need to define a type that we can use, which will be stats. We'll need the channel ID. Let me grab mine. And we'll need the API key that we defined up there. So load YouTube API. And if I remember correctly, we're going to need some parameters for the request. Params equals part and type ID. Channel ID. And key. API key. Alright. Well, now let's build up the request. So we got R for request equals requests dot get URL, label the URL from above, and then params equals params from above. Data for the request, we'll need it in JSON, r.json. And let's get total number of views. How's that? Total views equals integer. And then we'll need to get it from data. Items. And you can look at the API structure from YouTube and figure this all out too. Top selection. Stats. And view count, I believe. Alright, and let's just define that as no views. And we'll make sure it prints out with views. And the value from, total views. Alright, so we're forming up the URL, putting the type of stats, got the channel ID, we're getting the API key from the local environment, got the parameter set up for the request. Looks like that should be pretty good. So, let's go down to the loop and we're going to add a new line. And we're going to call it, or print out a new LCD message, lcd.message. And we're going to call, we'll just reference number of views. That should work. Let's save it. And we'll run the script. See what happens. And it messed up on us completely. So, as always, we get to go back and look what I messed up here. I know some of you guys are screaming at your screens right now, and you saw me mess up someplace. But just remember, it's all a learning experience. Oh, and it's not environment. That's what it is, right? Glad you guys are here to just stumble along with me as I fend off some boredom on this Sunday morning. So now that I fixed that, let's go ahead and try it again. Alright. Run the script, see what happens. Program is starting up. Well, that's a decent sign. Got the temperature. Oh, look at that. It's showing us the YouTube views from my channel. Alright. Well, what do you guys know? This is actually working out pretty well. So what else can we do here? Let's go ahead and stop this. And let's go get the total subscriber count too. So let's call it subscribers. Equals, we'll basically do the same thing. Integer data items 0 stats. And instead of view count this time, we'll get subscriber count. Looks pretty good. Let's just define it as number subs. And we'll print it out as subs. Looks okay. You guys were yelling about that one, weren't you? And then let's just flop. Actually, we'll flop this out of the get time now for number of subs. And we'll go ahead and run it again. We've got the temperature and the number of subscribers and the number of items in the S3 bucket and the number of views on the YouTube channel. I hope this shows you guys what you can do with some simple playing around and extending out code to actually control screens and just fend off some boredom. Glad you guys were along for the ride. Tell me down in the comments, what else can you do with this and have some fun. Alright. Have a great day, guys. See you later.